So now that you had good clarity on why you wanted to do an MBA and you knew exactly what to do, how did you go about your preparations? What did you do? What was the first step that you took?
Right. First thing was, arriving at why exactly at this point in time, because I wanted to be clear myself as to, I knew that I will be asked a question as to why do you need another proper master's, though there are major differences between a master that I did and a full-fledged MBA. I want to get that clear. And once I got that clear, the idea was that I've been working in IT sales for the better part of almost 5 years now. And my job requires me to constantly interact with my product managers based out of the US. So I was saying my job requires me to interact with a lot of product managers based out of our headquarters. Earlier it was Texas, now NCR being Atlanta. So, and when I go to a customer, I am positioning only the products that are being given to me. And that was holding me back because there were many times where I didn't have an opportunity to go out of the way and position a solution which I have developed on my own. So that is one thing that I wanted clarity in my head that this is why I need an MBA to get into a product management role, because eventually my goal is to work at the headquarters of a large MNC. So that's why I thought an MBA would be the right step. Once I got that clear out of the way, the next step was getting through GMAT, and that was a rigorous exercise, if I can call it. And I'm someone who has never really seen tuition, but GMAT is a different game, and that's where things started to change for me.
Right. So how did you go about your prep for GMAT? How long did you take? And what was your final score after going through a series of tests?
Right. So the first things first was, I had to revisit everything that I had given earlier in my previous entrance examinations. So the most important thing which I feel everyone should go through is the official guide. There is enough in those books to go about. But I would also not say don't restrict yourself only to that. Go out and practice more, because GMAT is a very practice exam. You need to be in the scheme of solving sums, understanding comprehensions, the sentence correction bit of it. And what I did is, after I had that out of the way, my concepts were through. And when my mock tests started, I was initially on the lower side, and my final score ended up being 7 to 10. So I'm quite happy with that. And this was, through obviously a lot of hard work, but there is a little bit of pattern understanding which you need to do in GMAT with regards to what kind of questions are generally asked. There is never a similar GMAT exam for anyone, but if you get a hang of which section you want to take up first, you need to understand why you want to take that section up. Just don't take it for the sake of, say, I am good at something, so let's just try with this. Have a set pattern as to why you are doing this and keep on practicing on it.
Right. That was one of the useful tips that you gave, because most of our students find a difficulty and rather approach it just like any other test. But it's the test of application of what you already know. It's just you need a little bit of idea of how you want to apply it. And if you get that right, as you mentioned, you will be able to crack it. Anybody can crack it. Of course, with a little bit of practice. So now that you had your GMAT score in place, it was a good score, about 710. So what were the schools that you had in your mind, and why did you want to pick those schools? If you had made a list, what were the reasons for it?
So there were two things which I was primarily looking at when I was shortlisting my school. One thing is I wanted to eventually be in tech. So I had to choose schools which were focusing on and eventually, having a curriculum which would develop stronger business skills within the tech, and also have a lot of networks and connections with the tech industry. So obviously that makes me impartial towards the West Coast, but there were a few on the East Coast as well. So I had chosen a mix of schools which would give me enough, opportunity to ensure I have an admit, and that's how I went about choosing and shortlisting my schools.
Right. Is there any particular school's name that you want to mention, or you're just okay with the fact that you want to select schools with the Western coast? And do you want to mention a few schools that you had applied for?
Sure. Yeah. First school which I applied to was the Foster School of Business in University of Washington, and then there was Cornell on the East Coast. I had even applied to Macomb School of Business in the University of Austin, Texas.
So you're very, very clear that you wanted to, go in the same line where you were expected to study more or know more about business management, which would eventually help you,
Right.
yeah, in your career. So going ahead, now that you knew that these were the colleges that you had targeted and now you had to apply, right? Did you find any challenge in your application and did you figure it out in your head that, okay, this is an area where I lack certain experience or this is my challenge area? And how did you go about approaching and what did you look up on the net or did you ask anybody? What did you do?
So my job currently also requires me to interact with a lot of new people every day. So that instinct got me already interacting with students at my target school. But once that was out of the way, what I needed was, validation with regards to what my post MBA goal is. In my opinion, in my view, I thought I had that clear. It was about articulating that. The kind of education system that we have and how we are brought up, it's not that kind of system, which engages you in being creative about writing essays. We have a very different education system here in India. So when you start writing that first essay, it takes you aback, that as to this will really require some effort. That was my main challenge as to how do I articulate this out. That's where it all started with CrackWobble.
Right. So that's a challenge as you already mentioned. Like students in India are not self-aware of what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and how to convey a right story about their own personality. So the self-awareness factors is plays a very, very, very big role, especially when you're writing an essay. So in your case, while writing an essay, how did CrackWobble help you in terms of figuring out a structure, or how did they approach you?
While searching, I had come across one of the webinars which CrackWobble was organizing with regards to specifically admissions and all aspects around it. And that's when I came to know that how CrackWobble approaches things is they engage with ex-alums, students who have already been through this process and have studied at a business school where you are targeting. I felt that that would be much more helpful to me rather than a consultant who is good at essay writing, because this would give me that advantage of really understanding what an AdCom wants, because these are students who have been admitted to these schools. They would really know what goes on behind and how it really is supposed to be, the essay is supposed to be structured and molded to ensure your story is put out well, because everybody has a good story to say, but how to put it out across, that would really make a differentiation. And I felt CrackWobble would be the right choice for me from that aspect.
So, is there a difference from the first essay that you wrote to the final essay? Or would you like to talk about it?
There were a few differences, yeah. What worked out for me is when I started working along with Ritvik, is that there was a lot of good feedback, and it was continuous feedback that was brought along for me. It was never an approach that, I just throw out an essay and do a correction and come back. There was a major difference when it came to the final product with regards to what we started with. And there was a time even when we had changed the entire essay with regards to a particular school of what we had decided. And Ritvik was candid enough to say that, that the different story that we try to project is better than what we've already come up with. These things, help me ensure that when I'm writing the second essay of any school, I already have an hang of, the structure and what is really expected of it.
Right. Now that you had figured your essays out and you had done all the application process, how long did it take for the application process to finish, right from the start till the time you kind of hit the submit application button?
Well, I applied to most of my schools in round one. So the application deadline was in the last week of September and the first week of October. And I had my admits by November last week and December first week, around that time frame.
So it
it's
took
about
you
2 months.
right. So it's about 2.5 months, right? So all of the were round one applications, like you got through round one.
Yes, there was as far as yes, I had applied actually all in round one. So I had got all my results by December. Yes.
Nice, nice. Also, once you did that, where did you get your interview call from, and how was your interview with the particular college that you wanted to, go ahead with?
Yeah. One of the first interviews I received was from Foster, and I was particularly excited about this because the Foster School of Business is in Seattle, close to the companies which I am hopefully going to target post my MBA. So that gave me validation that my essays are on the right track since they've been accepted by the AdCom. They've been put forward to me. So that experience was unique because the kind of job interviews we go through here, they are more of on-job experience that you've had, and some even tend to be stress interviews. But these interviews are very casual in nature and very conversational. They are trying to really just understand you and know you, and there is no such pressure on you about. There is a set of questions that you need to know about. You just need to know about who you are and what you've put forward to them, and they want to know more about you, because what they eventually want to know is whether he or she fits into my program. That's all about it. It sounds very simple. When somebody tries to go through it, it becomes a difficult job, but in its entirety and its core, it's as simple as this.
So, you did get your interview calls from other schools as well, right?
Right.
And was it confusing for you to choose which school finally to take it up, or were you sure about which school to go ahead with after your interview calls?
No, yeah, so after the interview call, when I had more than one admit, there was a period of time wherein there was a dilemma as to which school to decide on. But again, I had reached out to Srikala in this aspect. She was able to, even speak to a few students who she knows in these particular schools. And I also reached out. I had received mailers from these schools post my admit that, I can connect with current students, alums. So that gave me a more sense of understanding as to where I intend to be and how will that school particularly help me in my future journey. So that's how I eventually zeroed in.
You've also got a scholarship, right? So, can you throw some light about what is the scholarship that you've got? Number one. Number two, if there are applicants who are also looking at availing scholarship for various reasons, how do they go about the application of scholarship, and on what basis do people decide, like the school adcoms decide that okay, I have to give you a scholarship? So, can you just throw some light on it?
Right. When you are actually preparing for these college applications, you tend to go through these forums called the GMAT Club, and you see last year threads wherein you see that they have been admitted to the scholarship, and you tend to believe that these will be profiles which have very marked differentiation. That is why scholarship is being awarded, because scholarship be associating with very extremely differentiated profiles. Say, not someone from an Indian applicant who's an engineer, like the typical Indian IT male which you have. But, in every application, even when it goes from India, there is a differentiation. So, when I was applying, I always wanted to stress on that. How is my application different from the other? And there are two things which I feel AdComs looked at it and why they offered me scholarship. One is obviously the content in the essays and how I have projected where I am and where I want to be. So it should always be a simple math equation, that you are at X, an MBA will be a Y for you, and that will eventually take you to a Z. So, and that's what they're looking for. How are you filling up this equation? And how you present it to the interviewer in your interview also makes a difference, because that feedback goes to the adcoms. Yeah, and that gives them whether this person is the right fit, and also do I really feel that will he or she add to my class and grow my school's name. So you need to have and insist on the fact how your experience will you not only be able to add to the class but also learn from the class. So these are a few things which I feel should be looked at and would be looked at back while deciding on scholarship.
Okay, so how did you get your scholarship? In the sense, what's the amount that you got scholarship, and were you sure that you would get through, or what was going on in your mind that time?
You're never really sure what kind these schools can provide. But I have got a good enough scholarship. It's to the higher side of 50, more than 50%, and that is helping me cover my tuition expenses. So that is obviously a significant aid with regards to an international from India going abroad. So I feel I'm quite lucky in that aspect.
So, do you suggest, or do you recommend people to actually apply for scholarship, especially those coming from India? Because, of course, the tuition fee and your living expenses is pretty high in the US, right? And do you really push that, okay, the idea that you have to apply for scholarship if you believe you have a good story? Is there any tips that you would like to give, final tips on scholarships?
No, we definitely should because these schools are more than willing to engage in a conversation. So I never held back from conversation interview. I was always keen on knowing what amounts of scholarship can the school provide because it's an open conversation. It's nothing to hide with regards to this is the amount of fees that you need to pay. If you offer me X scholarship, this would be my the amount of money that will be flowing in from my end. So everyone should be very open about it, and the schools appreciate that. So never hold back with regards to discussing even amounts because the adcoms will be very candid and give you open feedback even during the interview.
Right. Okay, Mohit, one last question. So, what did you like about CrackWobble, and would you recommend CrackWobble? Is there anything specific that you liked about our service? And if you were to recommend to others, why would you recommend CrackWobble?
So there was, at the start of our engagement, there was a form called PASS, if I remember that correctly. It's a personal application strategy form. Yeah. That form, it's a lengthy form, but that form was to, know more about me. So as I mentioned, how adcoms want to always know more about you, CrackWobble wanted to know more about me with regards to before they engage me with a particular mentor from choosing a school. So what that helped me also assess is where I am right now and how strong I feel my profile is. Because when CrackWobble would review this, they would obviously choose a mentor based on my post MBA goals. So that gave me confidence that there is not a random pick and choose going on here. There is proper alignment with what I as a student want going forward, and it's being looked at as not just a professional engagement, but there is a personal aspect to it because there is a certain someone who's been through this process and will obviously help you out in this next journey. So that's where I feel CrackWobble differentiates, and I would definitely be more open to recommending CrackWobble.
Right. Thanks, Mohit. Thanks a lot for your feedback. This certainly motivates us to kind of help more students, especially Indian students who are stuck at some point, be they GMAT or the MBA applications, to kind of, help them figure their way out. And as you mentioned, great points about being self-aware and how you need to be open in front of the adcoms. That really was a set of nice tips that you've given to most of our applicants. So thank you so much for your time and patience. We will keep in touch with you. Do also keep in touch with us so that you can be of help to many more applicants like you as well.
Sure, always happy to help.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you.
Thanks.